Good morning. All right, it is a Saturday morning, and there was a video uploaded on the internet now about 3 hours ago, I think. Yeah, right, about 3 hours ago. And it's called This Will Almost Sound Too Rude, but we must tell you this. Abraham Hicks 2022. And so ridiculous. There's a piece I'm working on. Oh, what am I calling it? It's about victimhood mentality, and it's a compilation, or it's a result of a handful of conversations that I've had for over a long period of time, many years, let's say, and some conversations of recent have helped me kind of sharpen this. And anyway, I've got a piece coming out about victim mentality versus acknowledging things, and then whatever. The ultimate summary of that is getting to the point of, well, no, leave that alone. Anyway, so I'm sitting on this piece, and it's a notepad in my phone, and, on my thing here, and I'm letting it gestate. I'm working on it, adding to it. Anyway, so this morning, this thumbnail, you can see it. Yeah, you can see it on my screen here. This thumbnail right here. This will almost sound too rude. I mean, what we must tell you this. It's from one of these YouTube channels that actually, it's not even a YouTube channel that I follow. I'm going to change that here in just a second. I'm going to follow this YouTube channel. I'm going to link this video that this is their thumbnail from this video. I'm going to link it below this video that you're seeing my face on. And I have to tell you this real quick too, though, because I kind of feel a little conflicted about this. In some ways, like, this creator is stealing from Esther Hicks, right? Like, they're taking, and there's a lot of people doing it, right? They're taking Esther Hicks's material and then drawing animations to it and then popping it up on YouTube and whatnot. There's a great justification for the theft, right? Whatever. But theft is theft, so there's not a good justification for it. And here I am stealing from the thief, and then, you know what I mean, kind of a thing. So on that note, because I have some conflict on, this whole day, I am on one hand sharing this information, hopefully piquing your interest, especially if I'm introducing you to Abraham Hicks. That warms my heart. Abraham Hicks. So by the way, Abraham Hicks, if you Google who is Abraham Hicks, and you see a woman standing on the screen, on the stage, that woman is Esther Hicks. There is no Abraham Hicks. I feel like in some ways I'm like, anyway. So we are all channels, each and every single one of us. We are expressions of that Christ consciousness, that imagination, whatever label you want to, have for source energy, universe, whatever label resonates with you. But we're all channels, each and every single one of us. Have you ever had goosebumps? Whatever. Esther Hicks is probably the clearest channel I've ever seen. And some people come to mind, I'll say Dolores Cannon first, but which I don't know. She wasn't actually a channel, was she? She was more of talking to hypnotize people, but that's channel, same thing, whatever. Daryl Anka is another one. Daryl Anka, if you're new to this idea, if you think I'm a little woo-woo and whatnot, or channeling is woo-woo and crazy and whatnot, woo-woo is appropriate. Yeah, cool. Woo-woo, woo-woo. Hi. I are woo-woo. Daryl Anka's work, though, is not one that would usually introduce someone to the idea of channeling, because this cat, Esther's beautiful because she just looks like a human standing there talking, right? Nothing looks crazy about her. But if you're familiar with Bashard, and you know what I'm going here, he'd be like, "And to you, good day." He's like, it's just this theatrical, and that's how the dude Daryl, that's how he rolls when he's doing it. That's what works for him. That's his creative process. God bless him. But if you're not open-minded, and your first introduction to channeling is this guy Daryl Anka on the stage, then I get it. It can look a little weird. Bashar, by the way, doesn't matter. Abraham is not a thing, does not exist. It's non-physical. It's a label which Esther gave the God. Anyway, so one thing I was going to say, I wish I should have looked at the time here. It's 10 minutes after the hour now. Okay. One thing I was going to say is with Abraham, I speculate about a master's degree worth of hours. And what I mean by that is, we go to these institutions and we get a master's in blah, blah, blah. Right. And that's a lot to do with, time in study, basically, kind of a thing. Now, I understand too that you're getting validation from an institution that says, yes, you've mastered this thing, and here's a certificate. You can put letters behind your name, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Where I didn't have that. I'm just saying, in time in, I'm not going to mention his name because I'm very careful to take private conversations public, or just to whatever, tell other people's story. I'm very sensitive to that. But a brother, I'll call him Jay. It's not his name. J.A., you know who you are. Jay introduced me. That's not his name. Jay introduced me to Abraham. I wish I knew how long ago this was. It was over a decade, though. Over a decade ago, Jay introduced me to Esther Hicks' work, Abraham, and I went hard in the paint. Long time ago. This is way before I found Unity, even, which has been over a decade now. But I went hard in the paint. He had handed me like a 5-disc DVD set, and then a handful of others as well. And I've bought some. Oh, that was one thing I was going to say about the stealing thing. Look, if you're getting value out of this conversation that Esther Hicks Abraham is offering, I want to implore you. I want to encourage you. I want to ask you to please go to their website. I think it's abraham-hicks.com, and buy something from them. This is what brought up Bashar, I think, or what made me think of Bashar. There's something in my head. I think Bashar had said that the information is free. It's available and readily available to all of us. The apple is free, but if you want someone to pick it off the tree and give it to you, there's a fee. The apple is free, but if you want someone to pick it, there's a fee. So while this information is readily available and out there, the human of Esther Hicks puts in a great deal of work, and I feel like that should be respected. And I've bought all kinds of stuff from their website, and I had things that I was given for free, and borrowed, absorbed, studied, gave back. I went and bought as well because of that kind of energy. Anyway, because I'm stealing. I feel like I'm stealing. I'm about to play an audio right here, and I'm linking stolen material right below this. I feel justified in my theft, though, which it makes me want to puke to even say that, because it's whatever. Anyway, I felt conflicted reading. I read a chapter of my business partner's book the other day, chapter 3 on video. I didn't ask the author if I could give away chapter 3 like that. You know what I mean? At the same time, I've got a little bit more of a, I'd said this in another conversation, I'm side noting too much. Anyway, let's focus. Oh, and I was going to mention, I did get up and put a shirt on to do this. This is a Do Good Nation shirt from my friend Krishna. Check out dogoodnation.com. I was giggling at myself a little bit too, because I put on a shirt to do a video. I wouldn't have gotten up off of my morning couch to put a shirt for the sake of grabbing a shirt to do a video, but I was getting up to get some coffee, and I decided I wanted to do this, do a video, and go ahead, grab a shirt, son. You know what I mean? So anyway, all right. So the working title for this piece is Almost Too Rude? Look closer. It's love. All right. So I was doing this. You can see my Word document on the screen, right? I was rewinding this video. It's a 15-minute video I'm about to play. And I don't know if I'm gonna play the whole thing, but I was rewinding, going back and forth, trying to get some key points here, writing them down and whatnot. And then I was finally like, well, what am I doing? Just turn on the recorder and let this be the episode. So this is the episode. This is part of the gestation thing. So I'm working on this piece about victim mentality and the booby traps in telling stories of overcoming and having an identity, or getting our validation from society, from getting our validation from being an overcomer. I'm not an overcomer. That's not I can see booby traps in. I don't want to identify myself as an overcomer, because if I do, I'm going to continually create circumstances in my life which need to be overcome. And I don't want to do that. I just want to be in gratitude. I just want to live, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm naturally more interested in, attracted to. And so I see booby traps in telling stories of overcoming too much. But then this is part of the thing that my piece that I'm working on, that this might really just be the whole thing. Actually, whatever. There are some other thoughts that I wanted to add in my own piece that I thought it was going to be. But then I saw this. It was uploaded this morning, 3 hours ago now as I'm recording this. And it said, almost too rude, from Abraham. I'm like, oh, what? Tell me more. Tell me more. Like, because, again, I'm a big fan of Abraham's, Esther's, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, let's listen to this. Quit rambling.
First of all, I'm so grateful to have found you. I was born already knowing how to connect with the universe.
Amen.
To a point that just now in the restroom, I remembered that when I was little, I grew up, I knew I would either be chosen as the captain or I would be chosen first. And it was never a question in my mind. And wanting so much to be up here to get over a problem, while I was in the restroom, I thought, if you could do that when you were little, there's no reason you can't do it now.
That was a good bridge, wasn't it?
It was a good bridge.
And what about manifestation that was? And earlier today, did you hear us talk about going more general, stepping back into a more general place? So that's what you did. You stepped back into something that felt good, and you had a new point of attraction.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. So in reflecting back to that and trying to get back to that part of me, so that I remember a distinct moment.
Well, we want to clarify something briefly. You're not getting back to that part of you. You're remembering a time when that part of you was active and you're reactivating it again. You're not going back to anything ever.
So there was a chunk of time of 32
Take it back.
years.
Oh,
Irrelevant, but all right.
It's what derailed me.
Irrelevant also.
Okay. So I'm coming back on track.
No, you're not, as long as you're talking about the 32 years of derailment. You're
Correct.
keeping them active and dragging them into the now.
Correct. And that's the part that has so much momentum.
Doesn't need to, though.
How do I stop
Dragging
it?
them
It's all right, but you keep the momentum alive by remembering it.
Okay, this is the crux of the whole
So
point
it's
right here.
time-
Oh, and one thing I was going to say too. So this smack talking, I'm on the blog here now. This shit talking blog here. This gave myself a safe place for me to speak freely. This Shorty Does Life personal blog of mine. The reason why I put the parental advisory thing on there. This whole episode, or this whole website, was started with episode 1, with the day I'd come home from Rhythmia, and it was a long time ago now, but I know there was at one point in there where I had this exasperated, why you're so God blessed in love with it, your victim story, whatever kind of a thing. And this is a part of my the piece that I've been working on, letting it gestate, is acknowledging maybe there's a trigger. I've been so repulsive to the idea of a victim story. I don't believe it serves us. Excuse me. I can see it. I identify it as a booby trap, maintaining that story of victimhood and whatnot. Anyway, that energy, I'm not going to wax on that because I just don't want to. I want to really focus on this video at this point. And I think this video really is just puts a button on my whole argument. This is my argument. This is my argument right here. People, I know how I can come off sometimes, right? Like, I'm Italian, passion runs through my blood is how I say it, whatever. But it can look at the surface like I'm being rude, right? Look closer, sweetheart. If I see you running with scissors, if I don't give a shit about you, I'll just let you run with scissors. God bless you. Have fun. You know what I mean? But if by my opinion, you're running with scissors, then wouldn't it be out of love that I at least say, hey, looks like you're running with scissors. You might want to at least hold them differently. You know what I mean? Consider maybe putting them down before you continue on, or at least like reframe it, hold them a different way. You know what I mean? I'm not saying ignore the need for scissors in your life. Anyway, all right. Just saying, hold it differently. Hold them scissors while you're running, yo, a little bit more carefully. Okay, this is it though. This is right here. This is
Time
it.
of 32 years was active and you're reactivating it again. You're not going back to anything ever.
So
So
there was
there
a
was a
chunk
chunk
of
of
time of
32
32
irrelevant.
years.
Irrelevant, but all right.
All right. Details don't
It's
matter.
what derailed me.
It's what derailed me. Also
Irrelevant also.
Okay.
the details don't matter. The circumstances matter significantly less than how we feel about the circumstances. The details don't matter is the way I've been saying it. The details don't matter. It's less, the details are less significant than how we feel about them. And I think that's how I just said it a moment ago. So sorry if I'm repeating myself, but this is important.
So I'm coming back on track.
No, you're not. As long
No,
as
you're
you're
not.
talking about the 32 years of derailment. You're
Correct.
keeping them active and dragging them into the now.
Correct. And that's the part that has so much momentum.
Doesn't need to though.
How do I
Doesn't need
stop
to
it?
though.
It's all right, but you keep the
Eureka!
momentum alive
That's what
by
I said.
remembering
Look,
it.
when she said, how do I stop it? Oh, great question. You guys said, Eureka. Great question. Now we're getting somewhere. Now, she's been getting somewhere anyways, because she's having a conversation. She's willing to be challenged, right? She's going up there with Abraham. They call it the hot seat. You know what I mean? But that's how do I stop it? Oh, powerful question.
But
That has so much momentum.
doesn't need to though.
How do I stop it?
It's all right, but you keep
It's
the
all right.
momentum alive by remembering it, by retelling it. Someone talked about this earlier, by using it as an excuse for where you are a little bit. Even though you don't want to, it keeps it.
A little bit was thrown in there as a sort to sort of soften the blow to the human's ego. You know what I mean? And I look,
Someone talked,
love
That has
this.
so much
Love this.
momentum.
doesn't need to though.
How do I stop it?
It's all right, but you keep the momentum
right.
alive by remembering
is all right.
it.
Acknowledging we're not late. Everything that is for our highest and best. That's the way I phrase it is everything that is for my highest and best. And I don't think that's unique to me. I think that's true for each of us. And we're so free we could choose bondage. Is it a way Abraham says it as well, which I love that one. You know, we're so free we could choose bondage. We're so free we could choose misery. You know what I mean? Like, they're all on the table. They're available for the picking up. It's whatever we want to give attention to is what be our truth. Henry Ford quote, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
By retelling it. Someone talked about this earlier, by using it as an excuse for where you are a little bit. Even though you don't want to, it keeps feeling like the relevant excuse. You don't stop it all at once, you stop it a little bit at a time. You just bridge gradually. But the best way is to just start fresh. Start fresh in this moment and in this moment and in this moment. What is so compelling about that derailment? Are you just so mad at yourself that you were derailed? Do you feel like you missed things and wasted time? Because there are a lot of people that have passed through 30 years and none of the
Details are
years that they
different. If
passed
so,
to
you don't
are
understand is a booby
dynamic
trap.
as what's
That's
happening.
another one that came up in conversation recently. Brendan Burchard's book, The Motivation Manifesto. That one's in my head. You know, that whole idea of you don't understand. Thinking that your details are so God blessed unique that another human being can't fathom what it means to have those feelings. Again, the details don't matter. What your 32 years looked like are so not interesting compared to how you look upon, how you feel about, what you took away from in your now, what you're choosing to take away from those 32 years.
Right now, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't of value. If it brings you to a place of strong wanting, it mattered. It was of value.
Amen,
It
amen.
wasn't a derailment. It was a launching pad. You see what we're getting at?
Dude.
Because your desire is strong right now, strong because of that. That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Amen.
So could you go with that instead of with that? What happened? You don't have to tell us. We just want you to think about it. What happened that was so emphatic that it makes you want to call it a derailment? And even more important, blame it. Why do you still want to blame it?
I don't think I want to blame it. I want to get away from it.
Because if you could make it okay, in other words,
Are you sure you want to get away
take
from it?
the
Because it
monster
sounds like
out
you're
of
in love with it.
And then there's not the feeling that you need to get away from it. And if there's not the feeling that you need to get away from it, then there's not an active vibration about it. And then it just isn't.
I think what it is that I started feeling like whatever I did manifest or whatever I did, things just came to me, almost like the Midas touch, everything. But someone else took it. It became theirs. And so
Did somebody
I
take it or did you
stopped
give it
wanting
away? You decided it
to
wasn't
have
yours
anything
anymore.
come.
But it's such a wonderful thing. We know it doesn't feel that way yet, but that's such a distortion of the way it works because no one is attracting it for you and no one is taking it away from you. It's only your perception that brings it in, and it's only your perception that keeps it out. That's why we called it a monster, something that you're blaming. But it's that attention to that. It's giving power to something that doesn't deserve the power that's keeping you from your own power.
You gotta take the
So to
power
leave that
back.
completely in the past and to go to something new.
Come
There's such a
on.
fear
Come
because
on.
You can't all of a sudden leave it completely in the past, but you could
And
fill
nor is
it
that
now up
necessary.
with other things.
and to go to something new, there's such a fear because
You can't all of a sudden leave it completely in the past, but you could fill the now up with other things.
Yeah.
If you
There you
are
go.
attracting the new, then it's easier to let go of the old. But if you're dragging the old around
Focus.
with you, then there's no place for the new. You have some choices. And we talked about it earlier. If you are determined that the choice of thought is going to be a good feeling one, and you start out before the bad feeling ones have filled in.
Hey, if you're still with me and this is all really too woo-woo and whatnot, one thing that I would suggest is judge the tree by the fruit, not the root. Concern yourself less with who is talking right now and just listen to chew on the ideas is what I would invite you to do. You know what I mean?
Then it's easier. Imagine having a colorful palette and let's call it liquids and a lot of depth in the colors. And you've got your canvas, and because you're not paying attention to what you're doing, or because you're having a negative moment remembering something negative in the past, you just sort of randomly take a brush and color that's sort of deep in color, and you paint the whole board with it. It's a black or a brown or a deep, deep purple. And then you say, wait a minute, that wasn't what I wanted, but it's
I'm reading through my notes on victim mentality vlog thoughts, the piece that I've been working on. I'm kind of reading through that as I'm letting her play. 'Cause I'm listening to her as well. And I'm also trying to read through this because I'm not going to do, the more I'm sitting here right now, I'm probably not going to do that other vlog as a standalone piece. This is going to be that conversation because she's putting Esther, it's just, I think she's making all the points that I wanted to make. I mean,
hard to cover that up with the other lighter colors. Even though you want something lighter now, you can't quite do it. But tomorrow you could wake up and just not put the deep purple or the black on the board. You don't have to drag that board around and try to lighten it up. You can just start with a new board and put the light on it to begin with. You see what we're getting at? But there's a tendency to believe that because I lived something, that I have to now unlive it, that I have to fix it or detach from it or understand it. And you really don't. You can just start in fresh new thoughts.
segment.
And if we could
Let's talk about
convince you, and we
segments
want
yet.
to, but we can't because there's
I
no
might have missed
assertion. If
it.
there were, you'd already have it. Got it? No, it doesn't work like that. But what we would like you to feel is that you can start fresh. You can start fresh. And in time, that will be like a distant memory. It'll be like something that happened to somebody else. It'll be like something that you don't even talk about. And you will know how well it served you because it lighted a desire within you that's way bigger than any desire that you ever had before. You were sort of a product of someone else's desire for a long, long time. And out of that experience, you have now found your own desire. And your own desire is, so much more powerful. There's such a much stronger point of attraction when it's your desire, you see. Nobody wants to be pushed around, and nobody wants to be taken advantage of, and
Nope.
nobody wants to be played, and nobody wants to be used up. In other words, these are things that people worry about. But the truth of it is, none of that can happen. It's just an illusion or a misperception that you have. Because sometimes somebody who's sort of loudmouthed and big gets in your face and tells you things that are so loud that you start to listen. And as you start to listen, then it starts to play out that way. But you don't have to listen just because someone's talking. One time, someone was in the hot seat talking about someone who was very troubling to her. And we began looking for the person. We looked everywhere for the person, and turned out the person was nowhere in the room, and yet so vividly part of the conversation. And that's what law of attraction does with thoughts and experiences. You can reactivate them easily, but you don't have to. And so it's much easier to activate something new than to try to deactivate something, because you can't deactivate it. Nothing can be deactivated.
But you're giving it attention.
The thing
That's like the phrase worrying is praying for what you don't want. Think about it. Where attention goes, energy flows. When you're worrying about something, what are you doing? You're saying, I don't want this thing. I don't want this thing. I don't want this thing. Well, quit giving that thing your attention then.
you're not going to think about, you're thinking about it. The more you don't want to think about it, the more you're thinking about that thing that you don't want to think about. And that thing that you don't want to think about takes on a life of its own, and then it feels like it's thinking you. It isn't. It's not thinking you. You're thinking it. But you want to find a fresh place, and that fresh place is after meditation.
So I'm so used to fixing things, and I'm trying. So I have a mantra of never give up, and then listening to you, this was what resonated was just give up, just give up.
Well, here's the thing.
How do I do that when
I had played this whole thing once, the 15-minute audio, so I know where she's about to go with this.
It doesn't fix itself. We want to tell you something that is a misperception. Do not give up on your desires for this reason. You can't, because you put it in the vortex and you've got source energy all over it.
We're not
So
meant to
it's
either.
not giving up
You
the
can't give up
desire,
on your
it's giving
desires.
up
We're
the
not meant to
resistance
give
that
up on
you've
our
been dragging
desires. The word desire, I'm gonna rant on this one for a second. The word desire, desire, day is of. It means of the sire, of the majesty, of your higher self, of God, however you want to describe that. But sire, day is of. Think of the Spanish language uses it today still. Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May, right? So day is of, day of, sire, majesty. If you got a desire in your heart, immediately it's been given to you. It's been created. It is now only up to us to accept that desire into our realization, into our life experience. The desires of your heart are yours, and they're available the moment that you have the desire. Now, we could play with that. We could definitely play with that. Anything I say, like, we could play with, right? Like, big part of my problem when I'm doing videos and I'm sharing stuff is I'm playing devil's advocate. Before the thought is out of my mouth, I'm already arguing it, right? Like, if you'll see me like, whatever. I love devil's advocating with anything that I'm suggesting, right? But desire, you're not meant to give up on your desires.
So it's not giving up the desire, it's giving up the resistance that you've been dragging along with the desire.
Well, that's easier said than done.
Phrase that a different way. I'm not giving up on what I want. I'm just letting go of the way I was going about it. Or I'm giving up the struggle. I'm giving up the thinking too much about it. Or I'm giving up overthinking it. I'm giving up a timeline. I'm giving up being hard on myself about it. I'm
Give
giving
yourself
up my
grace.
negative thoughts about it. I'm giving up my negative feelings
Thank you,
about
Angel.
it. Not giving up on my
Thank you.
desire. It's more vivid than ever. Just make those kinds of comments to yourself. Have you heard us talking about segment intending?
Yeah, okay. I knew that
So
was coming.
segment intending is, you realize that it's a new segment that you're entering.
Always
into,
now.
like it was a new segment when you came to the stage. It's a new segment when the seminar ends and you are on your way to your car. It's a new segment when you get into your car. So new segments all the time. And each new segment does ask for a different focus on your intentions, because you have different intentions when you're communicating with someone than you do when you're by yourself in your vehicle, for example. So it's really helpful to identify the segment and make some statements to yourself about what you want from the segment. So Esther's been segment intending for a very long time. When she gets into her car, she would intend that she would have a nice drive, and she would intend that it would be comfortable and safe, and she would intend that traffic would be kind to her, and she would intend those kinds of things. And she usually has very nice drives. The traffic and the weather is very good to Esther because she's been asking it to be for a long time, and it just is, because she expects it to be. But recently, as she was contemplating segment intending, we said to her, in the spirit of it, something that we've been saying for a while, you want to get out ahead of it. You want to get out ahead of it. You want to get out ahead of it. Well, segment intending is, in a sense, getting out ahead of it. It's saying, I'm going to be over there. And when I get over there, I want it to be this way and this way and this way. But in the true spirit of attraction, isn't the preparation for that segment really happening in this segment? If you're really getting out ahead of it, then isn't it affirming good things now that is the best preparation for the next segment? Think about it. So that got Esther's attention. And so she began thinking, putting into the terminology, I feel, because feel, emotion, is the best indication of vibration, and vibration is the point of attraction.
It's a cartoon.
So she would say, I feel happy. So she identified maybe how she was feeling or how she wanted to feel, but she was identifying the feeling of happy, identifying it, and then isolating it by just kind of looking around her current now for obvious things of happy. This is a beautiful room, by the way. So beautiful in so many ways. There is a lot in this room that if you focus upon it, you could feel happy about. It's fresh and really clean. The sound
matter where
carries
you
very
are.
well. These baffles are intentional. The
Victor
lighting is
Frankl,
wonderful.
Man's Search
It's
for
not
Meaning.
hard to find a reason to feel some happiness if you decide to. So I feel happy. I feel sure. I feel eager. I feel ready. I feel open. I feel alive. I feel eager for life. I feel sure-footed. So as she began saying those things, she discovered it was the best ever preparation, because now she's taking that good feeling, point of attraction person forward in time,
Yes.
forward in experience. So she began thinking of it like, in this segment of intention, she was establishing a vibrational atmosphere. And then she and her atmosphere were moving forward and attracting from whatever was there what matched the atmosphere that she had accomplished. Not telling that person that they needed to be nice to her. Not nice people were irrelevant to her atmosphere. She had lighted her light board in a way that when she stepped into wherever she was stepping, it had to be good to her, because anything that wasn't good to her wasn't active in her, because she'd taken care of that in advance.
Awesome.
You see what we're getting at? Since it's attraction, 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 then anything you can do to prepare your point of attraction is a good thing. Now, in contrast, it's the reason that we wanted to have this conversation with you, because this conversation is so beneficial to so many, especially
Humans.
to you. Think about your
All
opening
of us?
words about that time that you were describing that wasn't so good to you. That's the opposite of the segment intending. That's remembering the past, using that as the reason to accomplish the feeling, and then stepping forward into life with that point of attraction. You see what we're getting at?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why for most people, things don't change very much, because they let what has been happening or what is happening
Right.
be the reason that they offer a vibration.
Perpetuate
and then they
the
just
past.
take it to the next segment and the next segment and the next segment. So the world and life and people and things and thoughts just keep coming to them according to what they've got going on. But you can change that. You don't have to think about what has been, and you don't have to think about what is. But it is a mastery that requires some practice. Once you get the hang of this a little bit, you had that going on. You had that going on. And we love that you have that memory of having that going on when it was easy for you. You can do that again.
I love that. All right. So let me look real quick. 39. I know at one point it was 10 minutes after the hour. Now it's 39. So that's 20. So we're at least a 30-minute video here so far. But let me just pull that back up. No, you know what? I'll do this because there's a lot of notes here. I don't want to look through all of these. I kind of want to, yeah, you know what? Whatever. Call it a podcast. That's actually one of the things I said in here. I just saw it. You know, trying to do these videos with a certain time thing. For sales and marketing videos, those should be 2 to 3 minutes, or there's a good argument these days. It should be like 30 seconds, 15 to 30 seconds these days. But that's not what this blog is about. With Shorty Does Life, this whole thing, these are just conversations that I want to put out in the world So stick with me or don't. So my little notepad here about victim mentality, vlog thoughts, kind of the one I was working on, gestating. Housekeeping, this is some grown folk shit. I'm grateful I've created a safe place for myself to speak freely. Big part of what can understandably look unnecessarily aggressive. When you're stepping into owning our power, or using our voice, it can start off a bit rebellious of sorts, like an adolescent learning how to own their voice kind of a thing. You know, I've got this real, you say jump, I say fuck you kind of a thing. You know, that whole, you say jump, I say how high. No, you say jump, I say fuck you. You know, there's a bit of rebellion in that. And that makes me think of the whole idea of a strong one can take punches in the face and not feel threatened and just kind of gently push you aside kind of a thing. It's only when we feel threatened that we'll bounce back. If you like that it took me 3 episodes to make my argument. I ain't heard a peep out of nobody in my world since I put those 3 episodes out there. But the first one I did the talking about the mandates and people trying to live my life for me kind of a thing, and being self-righteous about with their ignorance in the world, you know, kind of a thing. The first one was called No Emotional Healing for You. It was the free flowing 17-minute rant where I was, there's something anyway. But that episode, it was hard for humans to hear me, right? When I was in that defensive, go fuck yourself energy, the 17-minute episode, No Emotional Healing for You. Then I did the remove from YouTube one, or you can't say that on YouTube. And then the final button on that one was the 0 chance post. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go see all 3 of them and you can see the distinction in delivery. Excuse me, I understand. It's hard for us to hear each other when we feel like we're being lectured to, or, you know, told to go fuck yourself kind of a thing. Like, you know, hard for me to hear you, sweetheart, you know, you're telling me to go fuck myself. Yeah, you know, kind of a thing. So at the same time too, it was just more about expressing, getting that out, you know, the whole thing, just being authentic with the whole, every bit of the emotion that you know, I think I put a button on that video like, hey, if you got offended, you got the right to be offended, you know, and whatever, doesn't matter. Long form video discuss here of we're not late, we're all right on time, always, and then always. Benefit of having clear vision and measurable intentions. Oh, see, no, you know what I'm going to do, because there's so much here. I am going to make this its own post because there's a lot here. So, and I don't want to make this an hour-long episode, even though I just made an argument for making it an hour-long episode. I am, because I want to talk about my repulsive attitude towards trauma and all of that kind of stuff, and how that served me in many ways, but also too, it was a booby trap. Part of the conversation I had recently was talking about the pendulum. There's booby traps on both sides of, if I'm thinking of it as 2 different sides of the victim mentality walking around, you know, what she was addressing here, the 32 years aren't interesting, you know what I mean, aren't important, like what Esther was saying here. That's one side of the extreme of the pendulum, let's say. And then I'm over here on this side, just completely like there's booby traps in both of them. And I want to talk more about that whole thing. And that's, yeah. So, hey, Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, if you're not familiar with them, or if you are familiar with them, but you've never given any energy through currency, money to Esther Hicks and what she's doing. It's not Esther and Jerry anymore. Jerry's non-physical. He has no need for your currency, nor does Abraham, or Esther rather, right? Because you could look at her like, that's a very wealthy woman. She doesn't need my money. It's less about Esther and more about your, it's an energy exchange, yo. It's an energy exchange. So if you're getting value from, if I just turned you on to them, or if you're already dope with them and you already love their stuff and you're into Esther Hicks work, but you've never given her any energy through your circulation of currency, I recommend you click on the button below this video, abraham-hicks.com, if I'm not mistaken, and throw some good energy at them, because you're eating the apple that she picked for you. Little gratuity would be good for you. So That's my 2 cents on that. Appreciate you tuning in. I love you sincerely. Namaste.